Krypton is gone in the absolute universe, and Kal-El is its sole survivor. As Absolute Superman number 6 opens up, we find a young boy alone in space, adrift, having lost everything, lost his entire world. What awaits Kal-El here? And how does he end up and how does he end up in Smallville? Let's find out. It's been 8 days since Krypton exploded, and Kal-El is alone, scared, inside his rocket ship going through space. Now, again, as I say, I did like that whole thing with the space suit could actually turn into a ship. I thought that was really, really cool and really well done. I will give props where props is due. But he's out there in space alone, having just watched his parents, his whole world, everything die. 8 weeks go, and it's just getting more, the loneliness, the isolation, everything. 8 weeks turns into 8 months, and he's basically just literally going insane at this point. You understand me? Because again, he's all alone in space with nowhere to go. You'd think that maybe, Jor-El and Lara would have had some kind of predetermined course as to where they were going after Kryptonic world, but apparently they just figured they would find some world somewhere. I guess that was pretty much it, you know. So it goes from 8 months to 17 months in space, and he's just out there. He's still asking Saul to see if they find any inhabitable world, um anything that they could live on. It says make up where it says we have yet to encounter a single planet capable of sustaining human life. I'm not sure why we use human life. He's not human, but still, whatever. His hair has grown long because again, there's a teenager alone in there, just going off of it and all of that. And he's reached to the point now where he's reached to that level where he just wants to end it all. He's just sick and tired of the isolation, craziness, everything. I mean, I still think you could have put him in stasis and that might have helped, but no, he's just experiencing all of this alone in this ship going through space. I guess, parents were figuring that they would have all been there, but so he is alone in space for months, 17 months. He's been in space. So he's been alone in space in isolation for over a year. They haven't found a single planet. They haven't found anything. They haven't gotten anything at all. And the basic belief on Krypton was that there are no other inhabited worlds out there. Krypton is the only world. Krypton is everything. Once Krypton is gone, there's nothing else anywhere. And he's starting to think that he thinks he just wants it to end. That's what's going on. But as the ship starts to approach a yellow sun, something starts to happen to him. His body starts to literally burn. He's screaming because as he gets access to that radiation from the yellow sun, his Kryptonian cells and stuff start to activate, and they find Earth. Now, meanwhile, on Earth, you see Jonathan and Martha Kent. They're on their farm, and it's drying up. They can't get anything done. Martha is saying that Lazarus has literal robots that are out there affecting the weather, keeping them from getting any from any of their crops growing. Jonathan doesn't want to believe it, but as we will soon find out, Lazarus is in fact doing that because this is one of the most evil companies you could ever meet. While they're there and they're talking, all of a sudden, something falls out of the sky. And out of the wreckage comes young Kal-El, literally on fire, if you would. He tries speaking to them in Kryptonian, but they don't understand a word he's saying, and he collapses. Now, Jonathan is freaked out and wants to call somebody, but Martha says that he's just a boy and she needs to help him. That's what they do. They take him inside to try and nurse him back to health because he is burning up and all of that. He doesn't understand. He has a fever of 160 degree, which doesn't which that's not even possible. Understand me? But then you see he's at night fighting up, breaking the bed apart. Then all of a sudden you see him floating in the air. It's just seriously. Then next thing he's shooting beams out of his eyes because this is all new to him. He has no idea how to go. He's never had these abilities before. He doesn't believe it's possible to have his abilities. These things are just happening to him and he doesn't know his body is reacting. Right? And Jonathan is freaked out, but Martha still wants to care for him. She has literally fallen in love with this child and she wants to help him. But after a while, he wakes up, crashes out there, goes outside, and he starts to realize, something's different about him on this planet. Next thing you know, he's lifting tractors and all of that, really and stuff, all kind of thing. And they start to actually form a bond. The three of them they start to really form a bond, and that's what's going on. But Lazarus is never far away from anything. You understand me? But luckily, this whole time now, Saul has been offline, had to go offline to recover and update the system and everything like that. But then Saul comes back online and actually helps him learn the language on Earth. It picks up all the information about this planet and all of that and gets it done. So finally, he could talk to them and he tells them that, his name is Kal-El, right? So they finally start to get to talk and all of that. And next thing, Saul actually deactivates the very robots, right? They had some drones. Lazarus had drones literally up in the air, keeping rain from falling on the farm because they want to buy it. And they want to drive the Kents out of business. So that's what they were doing. They were literally affecting the weather over their farm to get them to lose so much money that they had no choice but to sell so that Lazarus could acquire it. That's what they want. And once Saul deactivated that law and it comes down, rain starts to fall. Right? It wouldn't be enough to save the farm, but rain started to fall after that. Meanwhile, somebody from Lazarus is watching, sees what's happening, and reports, about Kal-El to Lazarus. So Lazarus sends a whole strike team with soldiers and everything to capture him. They try to drag him away. You understand me? Martha is screaming, he's just a child. They're not punching out Jonathan because they don't care what's going on. And all that try to force Kal-El into something. He gets sick of it and knocks them back. Tries to tell them that doesn't mean any harm, but they don't really care. They don't really care. They are here to capture him because that's what they do. They find an asset that they could use and they want to do that. But they realize that they're going to do it. So what happens? The Kents tell him that he needs to go because they realize that him staying there is going to put himself in much more danger. That if he stays, you understand me? Lazarus is not going to stop. They're going to look to fight him and might end up killing him because we don't know the extent of his abilities. What could happen? They tell him he has to go. So, reluctantly, he ends up flying off and leaves. That was the story of what happened with Absolute Superman and his brief time with the Kents. After he leaves there now, he ends up roaming the earth, going from one place to another, and that's it. You understand me? Meanwhile, back in Smallville, Kansas, in the present now, at the Smallville Senior Living, who goes to see Martha Kent? Lois Lane, because she is still hunting for information about Superman, and she has come to find out from Martha Kent about Superman and who he is, where he come from, and whatever else she could get. In the Nevada desert, we finally get to see that the fact that, Brainiac is closely monitoring Lois Lane and her investigation into finding Superman. So all this investigative work she's doing, Brainiac is using that because he wants to get his hands on Superman. Understand me? And we also get to find out who is the one in charge of the Lazarus Corporation and working with Brainiac? Ra's al Ghul. Because there is no way this could end any other way other than bad. That's it. There's no way this could end any other way than bad. Ra's al Ghul literally Mr. Dive into the Lazarus Pit. We all kind of suspected it was going to be, was this here's Lazarus, and that is working with that alien computer that travels from one planet to another, collecting data and then destroying the planet. Yeah, that could possibly work out in some horrendous way. So yeah, that's it. That's it. Now I actually kind of like this issue. I think the whole thing of seeing Kal-El, in space, isolated, whatnot, when he crashed onto Earth, the Kent's taking him in. He now, as a teenager, now having to experience these kind of powers for the first time, the changes that were happening to him, seeing them slowly start to get to work together as a family, then getting that torn apart, and him having to leave. Then the reveal that, Ra's al Ghul is the one that I actually kind of like the. So there were a few, I kind of like the issues. There were a few issues I did have, I find they could have been put in space. So he was going to be in space that long. Okay. Lois still trying to track down Superman. I mean, they try to make it seem like you should understand why she's doing it, but at this point, you're just kind of realizing that, she is doing more harm than good, but she still won't stop because she's on this where on earth is Carmen Superman Diego quest and she know what to stop. But it was a solid issue, I will say that. So I will give issue 6 of Absolute Superman a 3.9 out of 5. Still thinking it was a decent work, good story there. Actually did something this time without having to be too overly stupid, but it is solid, so I will give it that. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. I have a different opinion. I'd love to hear it. If you like it, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.